Hi, this is Michael Graves, and you're listening to WithoutYourHead.com.
Welcome to the Station of Decapitation Without Your Head. I am Nasty Neil.
This is Annabelle Lecter.
And we're joined by Rod Usher of TheOther, which happens to be the artist of the month here on Without Your Head.
Hello, everybody. This is Rod Usher from TheOther, and I'm glad to be here.
And we're very glad.
We're very happy to have you here.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, it's sweet to have you here. Now, I really like the name TheOther, so I did want to ask, how did the name come about?
That's kind of hard to explain. I get asked this pretty often, and it still is hard to explain. It kind of happened because I was at university doing my master's thesis on Stephen King and Lovecraft and Edgar Allan Poe and all this, and I always stumbled upon this concept of the other, like the monstrous other, like whenever there was, like Dracula or something. Dracula was like the personification of the monstrous other. And it's like some kind of, philosophical concept of a being that is a little alike to humans maybe, but it represents the bad, nasty side of humans, like a personification of evil. Kind of like that. And I thought that kind of fits us pretty well.
Definitely.
I absolutely love that. So I don't know. I think that's fantastic. I love all the psychology and mythology and things like that.
I think the term was actually invented by Sigmund Freud. I could be mistaken, but I have that in mind. But the listeners might want to look that up and correct me if I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I know Jung did huge amounts of work on the shadow, and that was like the counterpart to your normal persona, where it's all those dark things lingering in you, and you're supposed to come to terms with that to be a complete human being. You have to look at that dark stuff and accept it as part of what you are.
Yep, that sounds familiar.
So, how long have you guys been together?
Well, actually, this year it's actually 13 years, so looks like this is going to be our year. We started out in 2002. That's when the name TheOther came about, but we have been playing together for 3 years before that, being a Misfits cover band. And
wow.
Yeah, that's how we started. And that was a time when the Misfits didn't really do much. It was after the Famous Monsters lineup broke up and they didn't play shows. And we said, we'll just play some Misfits songs and dress up a little bit for Halloween. And it came over really well here in Germany. And we started playing bigger and bigger shows and more often. And all of a sudden we said, if the Misfits don't record music anymore, then maybe we will, So we recorded a demo of 4 songs that were totally like the Misfits, sounded like that, totally trashy underground recording with lots of whoa whoa whoas in the choruses. And we mixed one song into the Misfits cover set, and half the people didn't realize it was a cover, and the other half loved it. So we wrote more and more songs, and at one point we said, let's forget about playing cover songs. We'll do our own thing and create our own image. And then we kind of took it from there. I started a record label called Fiend Force Records to actually put out our first album and do a compilation called This Is Horror Punk. And we signed bands like Blitzkid and Bloodsucking Zombies from Outer Space and all kinds of bands. And it grew quickly. There was a big horror punk hype about 10 years ago or something. And most bands aren't there anymore. We are.
That's an absolutely amazing story. It just sounds totally positive and it just sounds like you guys were on track. Has it been the same members this entire time?
No, it's not, sadly enough. We started out as a 4-piece and then had lots of bassist changes. It was always the same problem that the older you get, the longer you play together. There's always somebody saying, I'm concentrating on my job, concentrating on my family. And until 2 years ago, it was only bassist changes. But then all of a sudden, there was our guitarist left the band because he got married and got a kid, and then all things kind of fell apart. Like the last 2 or 3 years were really the worst worst years in the band history, so it's not as positive as the first 10 years. But then, lucky for us, we found new guys who are in their late 20s and who really, they're a little younger than us, and they really, yeah, they made the fire burn again, you know. So we're all enthusiastic now. We got a great new lineup. Our drummer and Arya are the only original members, but the new guys, like, you know, kicked us in the ass and said, let's do this. The band is so popular. You have 5 albums out, and now we just recorded our 6th album. So it feels like we are reanimated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you've introduced some new juice
Yep,
to
totally.
what was already there.
Yeah.
Yep, new blood.
That's great. How do you kind of deal with, balancing your private life and your show life?
That is pretty difficult, I gotta admit, because we all have regular jobs. We don't, you do earn money, you get some, you sell records, you play shows and everything, but it obviously is never enough to pay your rent. And I work in advertising, for example. We have some students in the band, and it's always a hassle to do tours and to do longer tours. We got to take up all of our vacation that we have from the job and play weekends. We play festivals on weekends, and and the good thing is that I work on the internet all day. I sit on the computer all day, so I can do a lot of things on the job. I don't let my boss see that.
Yeah.
Now, who writes? You mentioned, when you guys started to write your own songs. Who writes the lyrics?
I write all the lyrics. Always done that for every single song. The music, though, is pretty much a work of the whole band. Somebody comes in with a riff, and or sometimes with the whole song, but mostly it's just like a riff, like a chorus riff or something, or I come in with a chorus melody and sing it to the guys and they play something to them. But usually we stand in the rehearsal room and just, throw around ideas and start playing and see where the song leads. Some songs are written like in 3 or 4 minutes and they're there, it's like, holy shit, there's a song.
Yeah.
But some take up more time, and it seems like, with this new album that we've recorded, it's called Fear Itself, sometimes we had very creative phases, and sometimes it was like, we're not getting any farther with this song. Maybe because we are a little bit away from the 3-chord Misfits formula that we started out, and have a little more that we want to do in songs. But the more you do, the more you kind of stray away from things, and sometimes you got to sit down and say, let's do this like it is, a punk rock song. And then, things happen again, and then the song gets finished really easily. But I like writing lyrics. I do have a lot of fun with it, even though it's kind of hard not being a native speaker, writing English lyrics.
Uh-huh.
But I have been told here and there that people like the lyrics, so that's very good to hear.
Yeah, I was going to ask along those lines, is it easier for you to write, because you have both German and English songs, to write the German ones or the English ones? Or
That is a good question, because for some reason it's easier to write English lyrics. I guess it's because I just write down kind of what I feel fits in the song, like the words that fit in a song, and then I, switch them around here and there. But with English, it's more about the sound of the word. Mm-hmm. And with German, every word counts. It's like German is a very harsh language in itself, so you need to. It's more difficult to write lyrics, and then obviously everybody understands it here, So, it's more difficult in German, and in English there's a certain flow, I don't know. It just does it. It Sometimes the lyrics write themselves in English. I sing some English German weird stuff to the song that we played in the rehearsal room, and usually contains words like cemetery or dead or whatever. And then I take it from there. You know, and sometimes I do more research on things about New Orleans and the voodoo culture and this and that. It's called Funeral March, and there I had to do a lot of research about the history but some songs are just fun. There's one song called Bloodsucker, and it's the chorus is about she's too young to be a bloodsucker, and it's about that girl Claudia in Interview with the Vampire, that young girl who never grows up and never gets to live the life that she would have liked to live.
Yeah, I noticed in a lot of your tracks, you reference a lot of horror movies, obviously, and not just not like mainstream like Jason or something, but like you're saying with that one, and there's Fright Night where you talk about the different characters of Fright Night, and so obviously you are a horror movie fan, I assume.
I have been a horror movie fan since I was 9 years old. That was the first movie I ever saw was a Hammer production of Frankenstein, and it scared me shitless. And then next up was Tarantula, and that one actually made it into the other song. And I must have been like 9 or 10 then. My mother let me watch it, and yeah, it totally scared me. And I guess that sense of being scared, but sitting there with my mother and watching the movie through the eyes I held them up in front of my eyes, the fingers I held in front of my eyes, was a mixture of being totally scared but being a little bit in safety, and just liking that feeling of a controlled fear, letting out the fear but in a controlled situation. And I guess I still like that. The only thing I don't like is too violent movies. I like movies like the old Universal monsters, or like recently Insidious and stuff like that, where you get a lot of scares and jumps and this and that. But what I don't like is really violent stuff, like French movies like High Tension or Frontiers and stuff like that. Serbian movies, stuff like that. That's just too violent for me. I'm getting too old for too much blood and guts.
Well, we were talking earlier about German angst. We're not going to get into bashing it or anything like that, but it was a very intense movie. So how did you feel walking away from that?
I'm not going to bash it, but I'm not going to say I was totally convinced with every episode. Actually, there was one episode that I really didn't like, and that was the second one with the Nazis. Killing, or I don't want to spoil things for people who didn't see it yet, but that was very intense, and I thought it was a little too much. It was not over the top enough to be a splatter funny movie. It was just too real, and I did not appreciate that. Us Germans are very sensitive when it comes to Nazi shit anyway, and seeing that kind of stuff just made me very, very uncomfortable. And I think German Angst could have done without the movie. On the other hand, horror is supposed to touch taboo subjects, and that episode totally did. But I still think, and this is not because I know Jörg Buttgereit, I still think his episode was definitely the best. It had this dreamlike quality, which I thought was really good. You had to really think about that episode. You didn't really grasp what it meant when you watch it, but thinking about it, it all made sense. So I thought that was really good. The third one, Andreas Marschall's episode, I thought was a little too long. There was, I don't know, there wasn't enough story, I thought, So, and I thought German Angst lacked a bit of an intro and an outro, or something that connected the episodes. So, it was a good movie to watch. It was a good movie to think about, but I think it could have been a better movie. So what do you guys think?
Very interesting. I really enjoyed it myself.
Okay.
But I think your critique is excellent. I really do. I'm not German, so I don't have that same feeling towards the second one, but it is interesting because during the conversation, he's Polish.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of stuff came out, and the three of them had talked about how these things were in the artistic way, this is getting stuff that's in them out. So it wasn't just about making, okay, here we are going to sit down and make these horror movies. This to them that don't necessarily make tons and tons of movies, this is, they're making it because it's personal, and to them, this is them being artists.
I totally
obviously
understand
that's always an open interpretation, but I think your critique is excellent.
Thank you, and I
can't
understand
argue with what you said.
I totally understand what they wanted to do. It's just, it doesn't have to appeal to me. So everybody has a different way of dealing with this kind of stuff, and it just wasn't my type of, it wasn't my sentiments like he had them, the director. So, but I can still enjoy that, and I think Jörg Buttgereit did a great job, and Andreas Marschall did a good job. So, I would still recommend the film to everybody, and I'm sure there's people who are not as sensitive as I am who still appreciate the second episode. So.
Yeah, in our interview, they also said that Jörg had said that he finds it kind of odd, or I don't know how you put it, but when people say they enjoyed the movie, because it's not necessarily a movie to be enjoyed, like you can appreciate it and everything, but not necessarily something that you would stand up and cheer for.
Yeah, I can totally understand that. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I know Jörg he wrote the foreword for your comic book.
Mm-hmm.
So, how long have you been in touch with Jörg?
Well, it actually started at a horror convention in Germany called the Weekend of Horrors, and we met there. And actually, I think we were introduced before that by a common friend, and our common friend is the drummer for a legendary German punk band called Die Ärzte, which translates into the Doctors, and. We supported the drummer of that band on his solo tour, which was always in front of 2,000 to 3,000 people. So that was really awesome. When we talked about horror movies, because he's a real horror movie nerd as well. And he mentioned Jörg Buttgereit. I think he introduced us through email or Facebook or something. But we met at the Weekend of Horrors and we talked. And he turned out to be a big Misfits fan as well. And just one thing led to another. And then it was about who could write the intro to the comic book, and I said, well, a German horror legend, that's got to be Jörg Buttgereit. And we got in touch. He said he'd do it, and that was it, pretty much. And now we're still in touch through Facebook. We don't write all the time. We're not best buddies who go out and drink all the time. I live in Cologne. He lives in Berlin. That's 6 hours distance, and he has a lot of stuff going on. And I'm still hoping that at one day Jörg will say, I got lots of money here and I love The Other. I want to do a movie about The Other.
Nice. Would it be a true documentary, or would it be sort of a blend of reality and fiction?
Actually, I would totally love a fiction film. I'm a huge Kiss fan, and one of the worst movies ever was Kiss Meets the Phantom in the Park. But I still like the way the idea behind it was really good, and I can see something like that for The Other as well. Maybe a little more horror, a little darker, but us not being a band but being monsters. Or there were some cool 80s movies, one called Trick or Treat and one called Black Roses, about heavy metal bands being monsters and invading little cities and taking over the youth of the little town and stuff like that. Some 80s homage would be kind of cool.
I like that each of you guys have
feeding into the folklore of rock and roll corrupting the youth.
Yes, right. That's what we're out to do.
I like that each of you are your own character.
That's something that, obviously because I'm a Kiss fan, there was the Demon and the Star Child and this and that. And when you grow up with idols like that, they're kind of role models and what to do to not become rock stars. We're not rock stars, but if you want to make it, you need to have some kind of image. You need to think everything through. Everything has to be as good as you want, as it's got to be, as good as you can do it. And that's what you learn from being a Kiss fan when you're a teenager, I guess. So that's what we did. We took the image of classic horror characters. Right now we got a scarecrow, we got the evil doctor. I'm kind of like an undead werewolf kind of thing, but mixed with Edgar Allan Poe's Fall of the House of Usher. And we try to give every character a story, and we try to create characters that fit a little bit to the person that is behind the characters. So our drummer, for example, who's the doctor, he really does like to tinker with things and always try to invent new stuff. So he's like he's like the computer nerd in our band, and he builds our stage props and this
I
and
thought
that.
you were going to say he
so
really is a doctor. I was going to be, that's very impressive. He's a doctor and a drummer. But
yeah, that's right. Well, that was a little bit due to the Misfits as well, because they had Dr. Chud back then. And since we started out as a Misfits cover band, we kind of took that image, along.
I was just saying it was cool that the drummer does a lot of the props and whatnot.
Yeah, that's he actually learned how to do that. It was his job to build models, so he is very good in building. Like we have church windows on stage that are lit from behind, and we have huge candles and stuff like that. And he built everything by himself.
Well, that's very helpful.
Yeah, it sure is, and cheaper than buying it.
Yeah, definitely. How helpful is it to have all those characters when you're about to perform and you kind of probably feel like you're going from regular life and getting into like a role, much like an actor would get into a role?
Well, that's exactly what it is. You just said it perfectly. I mean, when I sit there and, you do the sound check and this and that, and you run around and talk to people here and there, but 2 hours or hour and a half before the show, there comes the time for the metamorphosis or metamorphosis, yeah, whatever, the change. You sit down, we sit down, everybody has his own mirror, everybody has his own makeup kit, and we sit there. We don't talk, we just get into the new role, into our second personality. It's like putting on the war paint, and when you wear your outfit, when you look like you look on stage, you are definitely a different person. It's not like a totally different person, but it's like what Alice Cooper always said. He's not Vince anymore; he's Alice Cooper on stage, and that's how we feel like as well. You can stand there and say, "How's everybody doing tonight?" Cheesy stuff like that, but it works because you're not the regular guy anymore, and you can run around and bang your head and stage dive and do this and that, which you wouldn't do when you're running around with jeans and sneakers. So so it's good to have that second personality, and we're all really nice and friendly guys, but on stage we really turn into the monsters that we sing about, and I guess that's what makes it more interesting for the audience as well, because they do realize that at that point we are larger than life.
We had talked about the you writing different lyrics in German and English. What about the fans? Now, do most people in Germany speak English so that they can understand the English songs, and do they seem to be more into the English songs or the German songs, or does it not seem to matter?
It does matter a bit, because here in Germany we learn English from the 5th grade on, so everybody has a certain understanding of English, but not everybody has a chance to talk English all the time. So when they hear English lyrics, when they think about the lyrics, they probably understand what they mean, but I think they grasp the atmosphere. When you sing about Frankenstein or Tarantula and this and that, they know it's scary and they know it's cool, but a lot of them maybe don't read between the lines of the lyrics that are right. But I really do have to say that in Germany, the German songs come over very well. We have a lot of people saying, why don't you do a whole album in German? We have been thinking about that, but I don't know. We started out singing English, and it's fun to sing in English, and now we do like a mixture here and there. We have one German song on every album, and I think that's about as far as we go right now. And it's kind of, it spices up the whole set, if you have like 2 or 3 German songs between 20 English songs, so we're good with what we do, and people appreciate the variety of having English and German songs. So, yeah.
You mentioned that your German audience doesn't always get the subtlety behind your lyrics, but you've discussed how important it is to you to do the research and to write things that pull from horror, that you're pulling from history. You researched into New Orleans. So you're putting in all this time into making this interesting for yourself. How important is it for you to have that intellectual process in writing your music?
Well, I, at one point it is kind of hard to sing about horror stuff all the time, but I've never really done that. Singing about horror is it's just a story that is, that is above what I'm trying to say. Like with every good horror movie or every good gothic novel, there's always the gruesome, scary story, but there's a lot of things, between the lines, under, like, things that touch certain points in you that you maybe don't even realize that they touch you or why they touch you. And that's what I try to do in lyrics as well. Tell a story about, whatever, your dead girlfriend, just for an example. But under this superficial horror story, you have emotions, you have fears, you have all kind of things that you try to bring across, or try to bring your personality into the songs. So every song that I write is a special new song. It's something that I start from scratch and think, what do I want to say with this song? Maybe I have like a certain monster story in my head before that, but I try to bring life into it. My life, for example, or life of other people. It's not always autobiographical, but I try to get into other people's minds or try to think what they might feel in a certain situation. So every new song is interesting for me, and it's always special. Sometimes I'm even afraid to start writing songs because I don't know if I really will do as good as I want to, as I want to be. So that's taking taking that step into the song and really starting to write it is something that I'm afraid of as well. But once I'm done, it's so special and such a good feeling too. So there's a little part of me in every song, and I like writing lyrics, and I will always like writing lyrics. That's why I don't let anybody else write the lyrics to the songs.
Do you have a personal?
How important is it to you, or how rewarding is it when people actually do get that? Because I'm sure there's a lot of fans, like a lot of music. There's deeper stuff to it, but not everybody catches that. So when you hear from someone that's, oh, I get it. I get where you're going with this. That there's more to it. How is that?
Yeah, it's not that many people who actually take the time to do that, and sometimes it's. I will understand what I wanted to write, but somebody else might not because they don't have the emotions at that time when I wrote the songs. But that's totally okay. If they think it's just a horror story, that's totally okay. But I have some songs like on our last album, I wrote a song about my a relationship, for example. Obviously, my girlfriend got it. Then I write songs that have a certain erotic sexual undertone, and I've I I feel that sometimes girls do get that, even though I don't really say it that I don't say it out loud like that, but it's it's about, sometimes it's the werewolf that has a certain sexual appeal, and there's certain scenes that I describe which go over well with girls. Sometimes I think that girls read the lyrics better, interpret them better, and talk about it, and guys just sing along. Not to, not to. It's not negative or anything. I love it when the guys just scream and everything. But guys sometimes like a great song, and girls like great lyrics as well. Sometimes.
Do you have a particular track that would be the most meaningful to you?
Well, that's a good question. I would think that a Puppet on a String from our last album is one good track. it's about the end of one relationship, the start of a new relationship, and my new girlfriend actually did the video clip for that song, and it's a great song as well. So that's one track that I think stands out pretty much. But I would have to think about that because once I write songs and they're done, it's kind of I'm done with that subject as well. I wrote it down and it's there and it's good and it's past. And then it becomes a song that I sing, but not that meaningful anymore as at the time that I wrote it. I don't know if people can relate to that, but it's just the way that I am, I guess. I still love the song, but the meaning is past me at that one point.
Mm-hmm.
That seems ideal to be able to express yourself artistically and then to move away from whatever it is that you need to move on.
Right. I don't do that on a conscious level. It's just I don't pretend to be the artist that writes his soul down and to feel free or anything. I'm not like that. I just do it, and just now talking about this with you guys, I feel that I just realized that emotions in a song are now in that song, and at one point it's just a song, so I haven't thought about this before, but that's how it is.
Well, good. Happy to help.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. When did you start to know that people from other countries, started to notice the band?
Well, that was actually MySpace fault, I think. It was as soon as we had a MySpace profile, I found out that bands all over the world, and especially in the US. And all of a sudden messages came pouring in, and before we could think about it, we were out there in 2007 and playing a tour. It seems like we had MySpace for 2 years, and all of a sudden we're there in the country and being in America, and that was kind of the start, with social media, that people suddenly were able to get in touch with you. I mean, they didn't write letters before that. How would they find out my address? But all of a sudden, when there was the other profile on MySpace, they could get in touch. And yeah, that was something to see people from all different countries writing to you. And it's even becoming more and more now with Facebook. We get lots and lots of messages from the States, and especially from South America right now. There's so much going on there. People from Brazil and Chile and Argentina writing all the time. And, that's something that makes you so proud. You're just that little band from Germany playing your songs, and there's people all over the world listening to your stuff. That is a reason to keep going. That was one major reason to keep going.
Mm-hmm. Would you think that's another benefit of your unique look for the band? Because obviously the stuff has to be good for people to listen to it, but for people to initially find it and start to listen to it, that would attract them.
Absolutely, because that's what makes us unique. I mean, there's bands like Kiss and Alice Cooper and Gwar and whatever, and yeah, they all get attention because of their look, but they got to deliver the goods, musical wise. And I think that's the same with us. There's so many magazines writing about us because of our looks, and especially mainstream magazines here in Germany, like really daily newspapers writing stuff like, is this Germany's scariest band or whatever. If we were just a regular band, like I said, with jeans and sneakers, nobody would care. Some people, would come to the local bar and see us play, but it would have never gotten anywhere. We wouldn't have done the video clips that we did. Wouldn't have done the comic books, all that kind of stuff. That horror thing that we love so much has helped us lots. We played at Weekend of Horrors, and we got in touch with people from the horror scene. I was, talking to George Romero and giving him our CD, and him looking at the photos and appreciating what he sees. If we were just a regular band, he would have just said, thank you.
Right.
See you later. So, I mean, we have so much to thank the horror community for. And, we know that horror fans are loyal, and we're happy to be horror fans as well. And it's great to be appreciated like that.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know you guys have a U.S. tour coming up in next year.
That's right. Yeah.
2016.
That's thank you for mentioning that.
Mm-hmm.
It's that was something that pretty much just started 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago. We have been talking about coming back to the US since 2007, but all the people who contacted us were either fans who said come to my town, but
Right.
they're not bookers, so what can you do? Or booking agencies who were just so unreliable, and as soon as it comes to setting stuff in stone, we're just not responding anymore. And suddenly there comes this guy from Denver, Colorado, and he said, I'm booking tours, I'm booking local and nationwide tours, and I'd be interested. And he said, I'll just try it. I'll see what the response is. And the response seems to have been overwhelming, because now really we are making this happen. There's 5 dates already booked, and we're out there to play, I think, 12 dates or something in the West Coast. We're doing California, Arizona, we're doing Utah, we're doing Colorado, New Mexico, and Nevada. So, yeah, it's still unbelievable what's happened in the last 2 or 3 weeks, and suddenly we're actually looking at flights to book for next year. It's 1 year to go.
Yeah.
I would love to go in a month.
Now, what do you get a chance to actually look at the places you're playing, or is it pretty much you're just going to be there playing and you won't necessarily get a chance to see California?
That's going to be totally different to what we do here. Like the next tour in Germany we're on a nightliner bus. The nightliner, every one of us has a bunk. We sleep while the bus driver drives us to the next concert during the night. We arrive at the club when we're still sleeping. We go into the club. There's breakfast set out. Then we have like 6 hours to go around the city until soundcheck starts. So that's that's luxury for us, and we know that we're not going to have that in America. So we're going to have a van there, and we're going to drive from, let's say from San Francisco to Phoenix or something, and be on the road for 14 hours or something, and then be there, do the makeup really quick, and play the show, and then head off to Motel Hell, and then go to the next show. So there's not going to be that much time to see things. The last time we stopped here and there, we checked out a ghost town or an outlet mall or whatever, but we saw things only on off days, and that's probably going to be the same situation. Yeah. I've been to America like 30 times, so that's all good with me, and it's about meeting people and not seeing too many of the sites. It's about talking to people at the shows, after the shows, and that's a good way to get to know the country.
Mm-hmm. Is there any venues that you would like to really play at in America?
Yeah, the Madison Square Garden.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I would have loved to play the CBGBs if it were still there. I went there, I saw a show there, and it's one of the dirtiest, tiniest places I've ever seen, but it's still legendary, and obviously it would be awesome to play there. I would love to play the Whiskey A Go Go, because it's it's a legendary 80s Sunset Strip place. We did play the Key Club, which is right next door, pretty much, and legendary as well. I think it doesn't exist anymore. I'm not sure, but the Whiskey or the Roxy would be great. And well, let's think. Well, I think that was pretty much it. The Masquerade in Atlanta. My sister lives in Atlanta, so been to the Masquerade, and I really like that club. And I would love for my sister to see, the brother play in her hometown in America. That would be cool. But, we don't know that many clubs. We have seen some shitty clubs on the last tour that I would like not to play again, that's for sure.
Do you feel like it's really helped? You said Madison Square Garden, but do you feel like actually setting your sights high and thinking that, well, maybe this can happen, does that help? Or do you not really do that and kind of just joke around about it and hope it works out?
I wouldn't still do this band if I didn't have hopes, because otherwise, it just takes up too much of your time, too much of your money. It's really stressful to be on tour. I don't enjoy being on tour, because for a singer, it's pure stress to watch your voice all the time and not drink, not smoke. So, I would quit if I didn't have hopes and and things that I want to achieve. Madison Square Garden is aimed too high, I know that much, but maybe we could be a support band there for Kiss someday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it has, you have to have those dreams, even though we're, especially our drummer and I, we're not 20 anymore. We know it's probably not gonna happen, but this band has taken one step at a time every year. We've had some lows, but there's been one high every year and more highs, playing with bigger bands, playing bigger venues, playing big festivals, doing the comic books and the new album and this and that. And that just keeps you going. But it only does that because you want to go further, you want to achieve more. And if you lose that dream, you might just as well quit.
Well said.
Thank you.
What would you say is some of the best venues that you have played at? Your personal favorites?
In the US?
Anywhere.
Oh, you wouldn't know. There's so many clubs in Germany. We have a totally different club culture here. That's in America. You're lucky if you get a backstage room or if you get free drinks or a sound check or food or anything. That is so different here, and that's why so many American bands love to play here, because you get, all food, all kinds of food. Everything's free. You most of the time drink all night for free. You get excellent sound guys and light guys. You get the hotel paid by the booker. There's great stages and everything. The live scene is really, really good here, and that's for small bands as well, not only for big names. And there has been some awesome places. Like here in Cologne, there's one club called The Underground, which we call our living room. It's small. It only holds 500 people, but all the bands played there. I saw NoFX there and Offspring there and a Green Day there. All kinds of bands. When they started out, they played this club in Cologne, and we still play here every Halloween, and it's always sold out. It's a tradition. The club is actually way too small because it sells out half a year in advance. But that's the club that will always will always be dearest in our hearts. And there's other places like in Leipzig. There's an ex-squat, like a punk place that we love to play. There's all kinds of places, and most of the times, as long as the bookers and the people who do the show are cool, you can deal with difficulties here and there, and not everything as it's supposed to be. But if there's people who do the show with their hearts, who really want the band to come and play, then everything's cool.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any fun road stories from traveling?
Too many that I can think of right now, but one thing is really funny. That's one thing that always embarrasses me. I remember when we were on tour with the Damned, and we're playing Düsseldorf here. That was the final day of the tour, and our intro is on, and I'm standing on the stage, raising my arm like the rock god. The intro is over, and nothing's happening. We should have been into the first song. I'm standing there with my raised fist, and I look around, and I'm the only one on stage. So, yeah. So what happened was our drummer is sitting behind the drum kit, and he just realized that he forgot his drumsticks in the backstage. So he runs off stage while the intro plays, right? The other guys look at him and say, well, if he's going, I'll go too. But nobody told me. So I'm standing there, looking really evil, staring at everybody in the audience with a raised fist. And then I look around, I'm like, what the fuck am I doing here? That was the most embarrassing moment in the history of the band. But there have been so many things, so many great parties, so much adult fun. There's 13 years of being in a band and being on the road. We're not Motley Crue, but there have been situations where I've been reminded of the dirt.
And we don't want to get you in trouble with your girlfriend. So we don't.
Thank you very much.
You mentioned, watching Hammer's Frankenstein and the classic Universal monster movies. Are you a fan of the original, like the silent German movies, like Nosferatu?
Totally, yeah. The expressionist films of the times are some of the greatest horror films ever. Dr. Caligari and Nosferatu. what's it? I don't know what the name is in English. Doesn't matter. But I love, the visuals, and it was just something totally unique. And the sad thing about it is that we have never in Germany have had a horror tradition anymore. We started out as the country where those legendary movies came from, but after that, nothing ever happened. Those directors fled to the U.S., and all of a sudden, the horror movie tradition died in Germany until probably Jörg Buttgereit started it again. But there's no good horror movies between the end 20s and pretty much now. So that's kind of sad. But the more reason to appreciate the originals.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any kind of horror culture? Obviously, you guys are working out pretty well, but the horror culture of Germany growing, because I feel very strongly that in America, North America in total, because we've had some Canadian people come on as well, that there is a lot of change as far as independent filmmakers. There's a lot of new things coming out. Do you get the sense that that's possible in Germany?
It's funny that you say that, because that's exactly what I feel is happening here. That's why I said it's just been starting now. But we have been, like, recently only, like in the last couple of years, in touch with a lot of new filmmakers who just do their thing. They are mostly totally trashy movies. It's kind of hard to look at some of them, but there's like a real family kind of community there. They all come to the conventions, and you hang around, and it's like some of the same actors in every movie, and one director will be the cameraman for the next movie, and this and that. But there's a certain sense of community that's growing here, and I'm sure that some of these guys who are just now starting out with no budget at all and probably no script or whatever, just some some splatter and some nudity will be, probably the next Sam Raimi or something in like 10 years. Something is happening here. I feel that. It's just that nobody here really, like from mainstream audiences or cultural people who work like in cultural positions appreciates this. There's no money going into these independent films. It's all going into major cinema. So that's kind of hard. But that's how punk rock started out. No money, no nothing, and it became a worldwide thing. So maybe that's happening with those new German movies as well.
Something that helps a lot of people here is crowdfunding, Indiegogo and Kickstarter and things like that. Has that been something that's been helpful to people over there trying to start out their independent stuff?
I'm sure that a lot of the new filmmakers try that, but at one point, there's too many people trying to fund their stuff with crowdfunding. If you see like in a week 2 or 3 people asking for money for their new movie, you're like, damn it. There's so many people asking for money that I think the tendency to give money to projects might die down a little bit. Especially now with bands as well. The labels don't have money anymore to help new bands, so new bands do crowdfunding, and I get emails like all the time about, we're trying to record our new album, can you donate, and this and that. And I do that all the time because I'm a starving musician myself, and I want to help others. But when you get emails like this 3 times a day, at one point, you're gonna say, I can't do this anymore. So I'm not. Crowdfunding does help. Crowdfunding is a great thing, but it's not something to rely on to finance your next movie. And I'm sure that German Angst was the same thing. They did crowdfunding as well. But in the end, what they said when I talked to Jörg was that it wouldn't have paid the movie. There was like 2 or 3 private investors who actually made the movie happen, and crowdfunding was just like a little bit to maybe get the trailer done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they had mentioned the same thing in our interview.
Yeah. But I sure hope that crowdfunding, I totally people should help bands and help movie makers. I mean, that's the way to do it. If you want to see new things and new art and new movies, you gotta help the artists. It's just that right now it's just too many people using that kind of thing, I think.
I think along those same lines is there's a lot of established people who are starting to use it now.
Right.
And then when they do that, since they have a wider audience, I think it takes up, a lot more of the money that would go to that those people would use for more independent things.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Neil's mentioned a few times that Rob Zombie is doing pretty well for himself, and for him to tap into the resources that really should be going to people who really can't do it.
Yeah, haven't had the chance to actually make a movie.
Right. I mean, I totally appreciate Rob Zombie and what he did for music and horror and everything. And we're playing with him in August, so that's going to be great.
Oh, sweet.
But, totally. It's like, I think Eli Roth is asking for crowdfunding as well. That's like, they can get the money from other people, from producers, from investors, whatever. They don't need, your regular Joe spending $5 on the next Eli Roth or Rob Zombie movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They've already had their movies made, so.
Oh, really? Okay.
Well, I meant like they've had movies made, so it's it's not like someone else who would never get anything made. Possibly their only chance.
Yeah.
I saw you guys are playing a Sons of Anarchy party.
True. Oh, man. I was afraid you were going to ask me about this because I've never, ever seen any episode of Sons of Anarchy.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of watch whole series.
Stephen King played a part in Sons of Anarchy, Marilyn Manson. I should have watched it, but I was never, ever interested in the biker scene. I think bikers, I think Harley Davidson, all that, it all looks great, and the guys look wild and everything. But I drive my car, and for some reason, this whole rocker scene was never something that I wanted to check out. And for some reason, this series kind of went by me. And but we were asked, and some guys in the bands really like that, and. So we'll see what happens. I told the guys who do the party actually to get some like AC/DC type of band or Steppenwolf type of band or whatever, but they wouldn't listen to me. So now they got the other.
Well, all right, well, excellent. I'm actually a big fan of the show. So.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, I'm sorry to disappoint though. We cannot do geek talk now.
No, yeah. I was gonna ask your favorite characters and everything.
Yeah. Well, there's going to be characters coming to the party as well. There was this guy called, what's his name, Chucky or whatever? I don't know. Some guy who was supposed to come, but obviously canceled as well. But there's going to be people from the series coming to the party. So I should check out the series before I meet the people, so I can tell them that they're really great.
Just pretend.
Yeah.
we won't.
We'll give you the synopsis.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I'll write you, Neil. Right. I'll write you, Neil, and I'll say, this guy is coming. What can you tell me about him?
I will definitely help you out.
Yeah.
I won't give you false information either to make you look bad.
Oh, okay. Oh, that would suck.
You'd be like, I remember when you did this and that, and you'd be like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
So, you mentioned Jorg a few times, and his movies. I would assume I would think that they're pretty hardcore for you. But what is it about his films that work for you?
Well, he didn't do that many films, so I mean, it was only like 3 or 4 movies that I can think of right now. But I remember watching Necromantic when I was really young, and that was definitely too hard for me. So I've never rewatched it. But right now there's new Blu-rays and stuff coming out from Necromantic 1 or 2. So I think I'll check that out and see if they still scare me as much as they did when I saw them when I was like 14 or whatever. So I cannot tell you what it was at the time. I just know that, I was appalled. Mm-hmm. And that was, when you're a teenager, something that is so disgusting, it just interests you even more. I remember seeing, I think it was Maniac Cop or whatever at the time, or some Fulci movies back then when I was really young. And, I hated watching the movies. It was just sick and disgusting. But it was cool to go to school and say, "Hey, I watched that movie." So so maybe that was it about York's movies that still, that's why they probably still hold a place in my heart, even though I couldn't even give you the storyline anymore because it's 30 years back. So
Yeah.
I have to rewatch them. But I still, I remember since I was a teenager, I know Jörg Buttgereit, and he was a legend. And so I'm really happy to be in touch with him, and I'll check out everything that he does. I was actually he did a theater play of Nosferatu here in Germany. And I saw that a month ago, and that was really, really great as well. Yeah, so I do follow what he does.
I recommend Killer Condom. That's something else.
Oh, that
and
was
Geiger did the. How do you pronounce that? Really, it's like a mixed bag here. Is it Geiger or Giger?
We say Giga. Yeah.
Giger. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So he did the design for the Killer Condom.
I saw that movie. It was, I think, actually on TV here in Germany, but I saw that like years and years ago. But that was a cartoon, right?
It was
it's cartoonish. It's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
It may as well be a cartoon.
I believe it's originally a comic book, and then it was made live action movie.
Ah, okay. Then I didn't see the movie, but the comic book. That's why. Kondom des Grauens. That's what it's called in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a lot of fun. The Killer Condom.
I'll check it out again.
Yeah, I believe Jorg worked on that movie as well.
Yeah, I remember reading that. I gotta look up on stuff like that again. It's been a long time ago.
Yeah. So, who were some of obviously besides the Misfits? Who were some of your inspirations for your music?
For the other, it's definitely the Misfits and Samain and Danzig, but also if you listen closely, there's a lot of Iron Maiden riffs in there, especially like the twin guitar kind of stuff that we have recently done. There's the Damned in there. There's the Cult in there. There's some Type O Negative in there. What else can I say? I think that's pretty much it. We do compare it to Volbeat here and there recently. Do you guys know Volbeat?
I'm not familiar.
No.
Yeah, they're really huge here. It's like, imagine Elvis Presley singing for Metallica on Machine Head. That pretty much describes Volbeat.
Now I must check this out.
Yeah.
How do you spell this?
It's Volbeat, Volbeat. Yeah, and they're really huge here, really, really huge, and and because of my style of singing, which Elvis Presley and Glenn Danzig are some of my absolute influences, but so they are the same influences as for the guy from Volbeat. So people say, "Hey, you guys sound like Volbeat." And I'm like, we have 6 albums out. We've been around when Volbeat played little clubs. How can we do the same thing? But who cares? Volbeat are huge, and if people who like them check us out, that's great.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now you got the website, TheOther.de, and we'll have the link on our website here, so everybody can click on it. But what are some of the best ways to find out where you guys will be playing and what you guys are up to?
Well, that's got to be Facebook because we do post our own all of our concerts and all news and stuff on our website. But Facebook is our way to communicate with people. It's facebook.com/TheOtherHorrorPunk. So it's kind of hard to find us. That's why we don't have that many followers. But I personally write back to everybody who writes me. And we post more and more private stuff on Facebook. And so please do check us out there.
Yeah, I prefer the Facebook. It's fun to it's a nice place where everyone can like exactly we said, they can it's much easier to interact off Facebook than off a website.
That's right. On our website, we just post things and there's no reaction. On Facebook, you'll get the likes and the comments and people hooking up, and writing you messages. I mean, seriously, who would have thought that I would be in touch with you guys if it weren't for Facebook or people in Argentina or Brazil or Japan or this and that? So we're totally happy that this is happening right now, and I hope it'll continue for a time. And people are talking about now Pinterest and Instagram and this and that, and everybody's going there and this and this. I don't want to have a new profile for my band every half year. So
Yeah.
please, everybody, stay with Facebook.
Yeah. I don't
Well,
even
I
know.
feel like those things are so limited too. Like if you do Twitter, you can write like 160 characters. It's not
Right.
the same as having a conversation.
Yeah.
So I really enjoy Facebook more. It's not just this instant little blip.
Yeah.
You know, it's all those new things like Pinterest and whatever. It's just about posting pictures, cat pictures or whatever. And I think that's maybe why young people just go somewhere else, because they can just take a picture and upload it. But us older guys remain with Facebook because we actually remember how to write.
Yeah.
And I'm joking, I'm just saying it's not as bad as that. Kids, if you listen, I didn't mean it like that.
Yeah, I'm not familiar what Pinterest is, but I know that every once in a while I get a message on my phone that I have a new follower on Pinterest, and I'm like, I don't think I even have an account there, but apparently people
Yeah.
are following me.
And
Yeah,
you
it's
like
probably-
them,
Yeah,
and you add
Google.
them to your own thing.
Oh, well,
Right.
I apologize to any followers on Pinterest because I don't think I've ever posted anything on there. So I'm not sure what you're following.
I'm drinking my second beer here. If we continue, I'm going to be really drunk at one point, but please do.
Okay.
What is your
Then what else? Tell us.
what is your beer of choice, by the way?
What's my beer with?
What kind of beer are you drinking?
You wouldn't know because we have, right here in Cologne, we have a certain regional beer. It's called Kölsch. Kölsch, which is spelled K, the O with the two dots on top, and then LSCH. And that's only brewed within sight of the Cologne Cathedral. So that's really special and regional. It's like one of those little regional breweries. But actually, everybody here drinks it, and that's the type of beer I'm drinking right now. What I really don't like that much is Beck's. You guys know Beck's, obviously.
Yeah.
And it's like the beer you get at every venue that you go to. It's like the whole fridge is full of Beck's. And it's like, you go to a different city with a different brewing tradition, and you would like to taste what they have to offer. But what do you get? You get the beer from the biggest brewing company in Germany. So in our tour rider, it says, no Becks, please, local beer. So
Yeah, that's how we do usually when we go, because we travel around and do conventions and even just go into Boston together a lot. And as far as food, anytime we travel anywhere, we don't want to go to, like, Applebee's is a big chain here.
Yep.
Or even McDonald's. Why do that? If you're going to spend the same amount of money, go somewhere local. Have the stuff there.
I've dealt with so many bands from all over the world, and the first thing is like, can we go to McDonald's, please? Yeah, I don't get it. But on the other hand, when I'm in America, I'm always looking forward to my first visit to Taco Bell. It can only be one visit. Only one visit, and that's all. But, it's been like a little tradition. At one point, we didn't have Mexican food here in Germany because Mexico's nowhere close. So, when I went to America the first time, I tried Mexican food, and that was Taco Bell. And, kind of stuck with me. So every time I'm in America, I'll go to Taco Bell.
Yeah,
have you had other Mexican food that's actually Mexican food?
Oh, totally. I've been to Texas. I've been to Tijuana, and I've tried Mexican food. But I guess I prefer the Tex-Mex kind of stuff because it's not as spicy as the real Mexican food. I guess I'm not that much. I don't know that much about it.
Yeah. I do have actually some questions here on the Facebook page on the horror facebook.com/group/horrorpunks. Let's submit some questions for you guys. For you, Roger Dyer wants to know, who are they touring the UK with in November?
Hey, I think I know Roger from Facebook, so
okay.
Hi. We're touring with a band called I'll Be Damned, and they're pretty popular in England from what I know and from what I hear. They're a really great band, and they do sound a little bit like Wednesday 13, and we've toured with Wednesday 13, and I love that kind of sound, and so we're really looking forward to doing those UK dates with I'll Be Damned.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Let's see. Mike Duthler wants to know, what's your favorite non-horror film?
And I think I know Mike from Facebook as well. My favorite non-horror film. That's kind of hard. I mean, there's so many. Well, my girlfriend's standing right next to me. Valerie, was ist mein Lieblings-Nicht-Horrorfilm? I can't. I can think of a movie right now. I really can't.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Yeah, I do watch a lot of, like stuff about bands and band movies but I can't think of any movie right now. I'll post it on the Facebook page once I thought about it.
All right, excellent. But yeah, check that out.
Yeah.
Nick Portlock wants to know if your entire band was stung by jellyfish, who would you piss on first?
That's an awesome question. I would actually piss on our drummer first because sometimes I would want to save him and not make him suffer. But on the other hand, I really want to piss off him because he pisses me off all the time.
I think you should have this arranged, really.
Yeah. I hope he doesn't find it sexual in a way.
He doesn't want you to do it again. He'll be finding the jellyfish.
Yeah.
And Michael Precios, I'm not sure how to say your last name, sorry, Michael. He wants to know if you ever plan on touring the East Coast of U.S.
Actually, we are. If we didn't have jobs, we would be doing like a 3 or 4 month tour, and not only the West Coast right now. But from what our booker tells us, is that the feedback is really great from the East Coast as well. And so what we're thinking about doing is coming to the West Coast in March, and then doing East Coast dates like in the late summer or fall. We'll see how that works out. It depends on what vacation we get from our jobs, and if the dates on the West Coast work well. If we don't pay so much of our money, we're ready to pay our own money to make this tour happen. That's for sure. But if we're totally broke after those West Coast dates, it's going to be hard to tour again on the East Coast a few months later. Mm-hmm. So, but my sister lives in Atlanta, and I've been to New York a few times, and I would really love to go from Boston down to New York, and then to Atlanta, and then maybe stop in Miami or something, and New Orleans as well.
Mm-hmm. I've never been.
Yeah, I was going to bring up the Boston thing. That would be a very cool place.
I've never been to Boston, but I've heard so many good things about it, especially because Boston used to have a great hardcore scene. There was this compilation called "This Is Boston, Not L.A.," and that was legendary. And that was one of my first hardcore punk rock influences back when I was a teenager.
Where's some of your the bands that you know out of Boston?
I know the Dropkick Murphys and Gangrene. And I forgot the rest.
Well, very cool.
There's a band called Kermit Singer. I don't know if they're still around, but...
What are they called?
It was a hell of a name, Kermit Singer, like Kermit the Frog.
Yeah, never heard of them. No.
They're very, very local.
Slapshot. Slapshot is a great band.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know any of these bands.
Check them out, Neil.
I will. You're putting me on the spot now.
They're not horror, though. They're like real punk rock and hardcore.
Okay. All right. I listen to other things besides horror.
I thought so.
Mm-hmm. Like Sons of Anarchy. Well, that's a TV show. Well, I want to thank you for coming on today, Rod.
Thank you. It was a real pleasure. It really was. I had a lot of fun, and you actually made me think of certain things, and asked questions that I haven't been asked at all or not for a long time. So that was really cool, and I had a blast. I really did.
Well, thanks.
Dr. Hannibal Lecter is here for you.
All right.
Thank you so much. And really appreciate you guys for being the Artists of the Month here on Without Your Head. And hopefully some new people get to hear you guys.
Oh, I would love that. And everybody who listens to this, please get in touch if you have questions or anything. Facebook.com/TheOtherHorrorPunk or TheOther.de. Just write us and we'll respond. We'd love to hear from you. And thank you too again. Thank you so much.
It was a pleasure to have you on the show, and keep us posted if you're doing the East Coast tour.
Yes, I will. If you can make it to any show, let me know. You're on the guest list.
If you're out here, I think we'll be here.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I can pretty much guarantee we'll be there.
That's great. Love to meet you guys in person.
You say that
all right.
But yeah.
All right.
All right. You guys, have a great day, great night. I'm
Take care.
finishing up my beer and having a smoke now.
All right.
Sounds good.
All right.
Excellent.
Talk to you later.
Hello, everybody. This is Lips from the band Anvil. Yeah, you know it. You're listening withoutyourhead.com.